So the first thing you need to do when you start your still life is decide whether your composition is going to be horizontal or vertical. And mine is going to be vertical. Let me make a little bit more space here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my name. I'm going to put Dr. A. Please don't write Dr. A on your paper. And I'm going to put F3 for my teacher code. And you can see that right there. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it over on the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to go with the composition where I'm going to have an apple, and I'm going to have, let's see what we have in our template box. Is that you could use these templates to create a composition. Like for example, if you had a bowl and you wanted to put your poison apple in your bowl, that's a peach. Well, let me see, this is more apple-y. Okay, and you just wanted it to look like any other bowl of fruit. You could put a couple of things in here. I could move it over to the side. Could add a little teacup on this side if I wanted to, okay? Now, what do these things all have in common? One, they're life size, and two, they're overlapping in front and behind. So they're all touching each other, overlapping in front and behind, okay? Now, this doesn't meet my theme though. So I chose the Wicked Queen or Snow White to be my theme. So I need to figure out how to make my objects, and maybe none of these things are really gonna work for me, and that's okay too. I am going to use the apple. Let's see, where did my apple go? Oh, I'm gonna use the apple. I'm gonna use the teacup. I'm gonna make them overlap. Now notice that the bottoms are in different places. That means this one is in front and this one is behind. Excellent. So I'm gonna use those things, and then to balance them out, I'm gonna put something down here, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and just gently trace around these. So I'm gonna hold them in place, and I'm just gonna trace around the one in the back first. And then I can pull that one out. See how there's a space? And then I can put this one in. And that gives me some two very good sized objects for my composition. Okay. Now, I've got to figure out what to do with this poison apple. So I've got a poison apple, and I'm actually going to kind of separate them. I'm going to do a poison looking apple, and then I'm going to make some poisonous tea. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw across this way to make the opening of my teacup. I've got to finish my drawing here, so I've got to come this way, and then I don't like the way that handle looks, so I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my handle just a little bit more interesting like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the symbol that I had in my idea book that has the heart with like the kind of crossed daggers. I'm going to put that on my teacup. So I'm going to draw that lightly in. Put the hilt. So there's the huntsman's dagger. I'm just going to have it go across one time. And then I kind of want to make this a little more interesting. An apple is fine, but I want to make it, I think I want to make it like a candied apple. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the edge of this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm using the edge of the bottle to kind of help me draw this line. And then I'm going to show where the apple's been dipped in delicious something caramel. But I kind of like it when the apple is wrapped. Do you like it when the apple is wrapped? So I'm going to give it a little bit of a sort of plastic wrapping. So it's clear plastic, right? Does that make sense? Now I have a problem. How many objects do I have in my composition? I have 2. So how many do I need? I need 3 things. Yes, so I need to add a third. I think I will go ahead and add my gemstone. So I'm gonna go ahead and make an oval. This is gonna be a huge gemstone. It's gonna be a big one. You can hold in your hand. So I'm gonna make it extra large, and I'm gonna make it kind of like sitting on the table. I couldn't draw it standing up like this, right? Because gemstones don't stand up like that. So I have to draw it like this. And then gemstones are faceted. That means that they're kind of angular. They're cut by a jeweler and they're made to reflect the light. So I'm gonna make my gemstone be kind of multi-faceted. So I drew an octagon, and then I drew an octagon inside my octagon, and now all I'm doing is connecting the points of my octagon so that it looks like, ooh, it looks like a gemstone, look at that. And then I'm gonna just draw the rest of the stone. These objects have just been launched out of an airplane. They look like they're falling through white space. So to put them in a location, I'm gonna draw a nice horizontal line here. And we have the table and the wall. Now I've got my 3 objects. They're as big as I can make them, right? And oh, I know, I wanted to make this look like more like poison. So I'm gonna make it look like it's got some bubbles in it. And then I'm gonna have some bubbles rising up, because it does need something else over here. This seems out of balance a little bit. And then to show that it's poison, I'm gonna draw a nice little misty sort of little misty skull here. Just put some little steam coming, some little curly steam coming out of my teacup here. I think this one needs a little curl. So does it look like poison now? Yes. Okay, beautiful. All right, so once I have my composition drawn, I'll be ready to get the Dr. A-OK and then outline it. So I'm looking that you have at least 2 objects that are overlapping. This one is not overlapping, but that's okay. I have 2 objects. I can see that this is in front. See how it's low? This is a little bit further back on the table, and this is furthest back on the table by its position from the bottom of the paper. So closest, medium close, far away. All right. Now that I have my drawing outlined, I'm gonna go ahead and use a large eraser to erase any old pencil lines and just leave the Sharpie lines. There's 2 reasons we do this. One is to make the image cleaner, to get rid of all the unwanted lines. And 2 is to check to make sure we didn't forget anything. I almost forgot to outline my skull, but then I remembered. So sometimes you just skip a part and you just don't see it. So you're just going to go ahead and erase any extra pencil lines. I also turned my gemstone a little bit, so I made it kind of so that feel like the tail is going this way, so that the front of the gemstone would be facing me a little bit more. So that is a big change, so I need to go ahead and move that. Erase those old lines, and I'm ready for color. The next thing we're going to start entering is cast shadow. So I have some shapes here to just kind of show you. Our light is coming from overhead, and I also have a window over there. So the light is coming from above, which is why the tops of these 2 flat topped shapes, the cylinder and the cube, are lighter at the top. And then this one is rounded, so you can see a light area here, and it gets darker as it goes towards the table. Now, because we also have extra light coming from the window, we have this cast shadow right here. So you can see it's just this little sort of crescent moon shaped little sliver of shadow that's coming because there's more light coming from the window from this direction. Oh, look, I have a shadow on my hand. Look, there's the shadow coming from above. So when we draw our still life to create more realism with the objects, we're going to add some cast shadows. You can see over here that there's this sort of little almost trapezoid shape. It actually goes all the way around. So if I move my camera view a little bit, you can see it just mimics this corner. It just does it on the table because the light from the window is actually being blocked by the cube, which leaves a little puddle of darkness here on the table. Same thing is true for the cylinder. So if you look here, because the top is circular, this leaves a round shape. Typically, if the light is coming from all the same direction, you would notice that all of the shadows would be on the same side, but we have light coming from multiple directions in this example. But this is just to give you an idea in real life. Here's the object, I lift it up, see how the shadow moves and changes? Just like when you're out on the playground or in the backyard, depending on the time of day, your shadows may be long or they may be short. To continue the idea of cast shadows, I'm going to use my crayons. You could also use your pencil if you wanted to, and I'm going to create some shadows. I think I want the light to be coming from this direction, so that means that the shadow here would kind of be going back that way behind. If the light is coming from this direction, then all the shadows are going to, so this is my left, then all the shadows are going to be on the right side. That means that the shadow of my teacup here is going to kind of be going this way, and then the shadow of my apple is going to be over here kind of in an abstract. So this area behind my smoky poisonous tea is going to be a little bit darker. It will also be darker directly under the objects where they are blocking the light. So it always kind of wraps around a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and use, my table is going to be brown. Okay, so I've got a darker brown and a lighter brown. I can go ahead and use that darker brown shade to create sort of that cast shadow that would be underneath the apple because it's sitting on the table blocking the light. And then also it's kind of doing the same thing here at the teacup. And then the light is really coming from this direction. So it's gonna be darker back here. Some people want to use other colors for their shadows, and that's fine too. My table is gonna be brown. So even if I used all the same color, I would just press harder on the shadows and lighter on the rest of the table. So I could do that. This space is actually what I'm seeing the table far, far back on the table. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that shape in, and it may only come, like to here, and then I won't see it anymore. So it's just gonna be a little darker back there. I could use a lighter color brown to make the rest of my table, which I think I'm going to do, but I think I want to make sure that it's following the line of the table so that it makes the viewer believe that this table is horizontal, because I want people to believe that this table is horizontal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this brown color in here, and I have to get all those negative spaces. So all those spaces where it's just table, there's not an object there. So I'm going to go ahead and color all here. I'm even going to color over top of where I put those darker brown shadows, and look what happens. See how it blends into the other color? I'm gonna go ahead and do the next biggest areas of my picture, which is gonna be the wall. Once I have my table with my cast shadows and my wall colored in, I can go ahead and start thinking about my objects. Remember that we have a cast shadow, so we're showing how light is affecting our objects. You want to make sure that you can have a darker side and a lighter side. Be thinking about whether or not the object is rounded, has a belly that comes out towards you, or whether it's flat. In the case of my apple, it is definitely rounded. So the shadow is on this side. So I'm gonna be using that curved line to put the caramel on my caramel apple. Don't worry, I know that brown and a brown apple on a brown table is not my best idea, but I'm gonna add another color in so that it looks more like that delicious caramel of a caramel apple. So I'm gonna add some light brown in here. And then as I get over here, the cup is covering up that side. Notice I'm using a curved line. I'm not going horizontal. I'm going curved in the same as the side shape lines of my apple. So I'm following those same lines. And I'm just gonna press a little harder on this side so we can see that it's just a little darker back here behind this teacup. And then it's gonna get a little darker as it curves around. Even though it's going sort of towards the light, a curved object is always darker on the edges and gets lighter in the belly area right here. So then I can go ahead and take my yellow to make my caramel, and I'm gonna make it a little bit more look like sort of butterscotch or caramel, that buttery caramel color. So I'm gonna put some yellow over the top. Remember that when you're coloring, you don't just have to use one color on an object. If you can't find the exact right color, you can always layer your colors. I'm gonna do the same thing with these other objects as well, dark on one side and lighter on the other. Once you have all of your objects colored, shaded, and added cast shadows, you're going to go ahead and take your finished still life to the iPad station to be photographed and uploaded.